So now we've got a great panel coming up. We've got two folks. We have the newly appointed and lovely man and very well dressed CEO of DDB, Justin Thomas-Copeland, and he's going to be in conversation with also a well dressed Mr. Dan Perez, who is the new editor-in-chief of Ad Age. And if you folks aren't reading Ad Age, it is the Bible of the industry. This is the issue what had Bill Murray on the cover. And Dan has done a great job. Dan's got a great experience coming from Condé Nast publications and Detail magazines. And he's actually got a book out, which you should check out too. And please, really interesting folks. And Justin's really taken the helm over there. But before we get into the panel, and this is a bit of a surprise, he doesn't know this is going to be happening. Today is Dan Perez's birthday. So Dan, we are actually going to light a candle on happy birthday for your birthday here. So let's see if I can manage this with everything else I'm managing at my screen. There we go. Happy birthday, Dan Perez.
Happy birthday, Dan.
Thank you.
Many, many more. And I'm going to eat the cupcake because you're in quarantine, so am I. So, but thank you. Actually, let's do a virtual wish from Irvington to Scarsdale. So make a wish and I'll blow it out for you. How about that?
That sounds great. Okay. Go for it.
Happy birthday, Dan Perez. Okay. And by the way, that ties in later. At the end of the day, we have a panel about a world without cookies or IDFAs. So lots more to go over here. So Dan and Justin, I'm going to leave it to you. Take it away. Justin's at the helm now. He's got a great big position, really sharp guy and sharp dresser. So take it away and I'll be back with some audience questions. Please, everybody, put your questions in and then we'll pose these folks the questions after. So have a good fireside chat or fireside birthday chat. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Barry. I appreciate the cupcake. Justin, good to see you. Glad to be here with you.
Likewise, likewise. How are you? Happy
I'm good.
Birthday again.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. You know, aside from being impeccably well dressed, you and I have something else in common, which is that we have both started new jobs during the pandemic.
Right.
How has it been assuming a leadership position during these challenging times? Whoop. Did I lose you?
Oh, it looks like we may have frozen there.
Can you hear me?
Yep, you're back in business.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
It's
Right.
all right.
I got the question. How's it been?
Yeah, how's it been stepping into a leadership role during the pandemic?
So, it's been challenging, as you'd imagine, because, when you're starting a role, you want to be with your team. You want to have that intimacy. You want to get to know people. You want people to feel your energy. So from that perspective, it's been challenging, right? But I think, everyone's under the same circumstance. So you've really just got to, adapt your style. You've got to over communicate. You've got to really reach out and I'm very client focused. And DDB, one of the things that we are really sort of doubling down on is our client communication and our client contact. And so that's been a real feature of the first sort of 2 months in the role. Just making sure that we're over communicating with our clients, we're understanding what they are preoccupied by, some of their challenges. But personally, it's also been exhilarating. It's a great role, it's a great company, great opportunity. So there's everything to love. So, I take the rough with the smooth. It's been good.
Good, good. Actually, in an interview with Ad Age last month, you talked a lot about listening. So as you talk to and listen to your clients during these unusually challenging times, what are you hearing?
I'm hearing a real focus on their consumers and their audiences and their, how are they serving the consumers? How are they staying connected to their consumers and their markets? We're hearing that a lot. We're also hearing about, what are we planning for? How do we plan for the new normal? What does that mean for our brand and our business?
Right.
We're still hearing a lot around accountability. Business accountability is not going anywhere. If anything, there's sort of a new brains trust being developed to understand how the business has been reacting and surviving during these last few months. And then what do they think is going to continue? What do they think will change in a material way? So business accountability is also top of the list. And clients are looking for solutions. They're looking for creativity. They're looking for agencies to step up and really sort of focus on their business and apply creativity and solutions to their business. And we're also hearing a lot of human stories, to be honest, outside of business. We're getting to know our clients as people much better. There's a need to open out and just be yourselves and share some of the preoccupations. You know, what's next? You know, how's the job going to turn out? How is the market going to turn out? You know, how a campaign's going to do. So there's a lot of human exchange as well, which I love. It's good for business.
Would you say that if there were to be a silver lining from all of this, that it would be that sort of a little bit more of the introduction of that kind of human side to the relationships? And I know that you've talked about co-creating with your clients and living your client's business. So, you know, what does that look like? And has that, which I know that you've been, you know, practicing throughout your career and are bringing to DDB, but has that gotten even stronger as you talk about the human stories and the strengthening of relationships with the brands you're working with?
Yeah, that's got that definitely, that's intensified. I think you know, co-creation and clients allowing you, first of all, into their business in a deeper way. So that's a good change. And I think as agency partners, you know, what do we do with that responsibility? So we have to step up. We have to be braver. Agencies are fantastic about having the solution and sort of rolling out the red carpet with the solution. This isn't really a time for that. It's a time really to double down on listening, understanding, also to relearn as well, and bring new ideas to the table. Bring hypotheses, tests, proof of concepts, shake it up a little bit. And it's brought a lot of those things, you know, I brought a lot of those things to DDB in the first 2 months. So we're trying to accelerate how we change our partnerships and relationships with clients. And that involves our working rhythm, our cadence, you know, just you name it, we're looking at changing most of it, and not for changing's sake, just to be more in line with the rhythm of how clients need to be able to, I think, just be a bit more organic with their agency partners. They just want to sort of touch, you know, different subjects at different times when it suits them. There's more of that. There's more demands internally that they're trying to manage. So you better be flexible as an agency partner. You know, it doesn't always come in the brief now. It comes in the conversation, or more importantly, you propose things and you just really actively listen to see where you take your cues and then act on them. So, you know, proactivity, good energy, and being brave. Those are some of the things that we're really seeing a lot in our business.
Have you had to shift the structure of your teams and the way that you guys do business to better accommodate the needs of your clients during this time? Have you basically, I've had a lot of conversations with people over the last number of months who have suggested that you know, they're sort of building the plane while they're flying it. Have you had to sort of shift things around? The normal way of the normal structures and the normal way of doing business? Is there a new normal now for how the agency is structured?
Yeah, I mean, there's some things which you could say, you know, common sense, but getting clients closer to work. So, you know, making sure that they can talk directly with strategy, creative, you know, business leaders that are thinking about what's next and bringing that into the conversation. That's a new dynamic that we're really driving through. Clients also are looking for different things. They want content. They want to be in the conversation, and they want to do that quickly. Thank you very much. So we've had to look at how we, you know, how do we respond to that? Yes, we have that in-house, but also let's look at some partners within Omnicom that we can bring in. So there's been a heightened need for that. And then, as I said, you know, brands and senior clients are looking at their consumers, trying to understand, and they're asking us, you know, insight questions, data questions. And so again, we're sort of, we have capability within inside DDB, but also within Omnicom, we have capability. So we're bringing some of that to the table and starting conversations from consumer out and being much more consumer focused, because that's where they need to be. So a bunch of things are happening that are good for business and changing the way we work.
You know, regarding moving quickly, Justin, you and I recently discussed the TikTok Ocean Spray Fleetwood Mac viral moment. And while we both know that engineering moments like that are like, you know, capturing lightning in a bottle, are you being asked by brands to create viral sensations on social platforms? And how vital today, how vital is the big budget, big idea, big campaign spot right now in a world that seems to call for fast action and agility and brand authenticity?
I think there's a mix. There'll always be a mix. Definitely clients want to be in the conversation where it makes sense though, right? They don't just want to create the viral moment. They want to be in context, depending on their categories and their business objectives, where it makes sense. So there is definitely some demand for, you know, being in the moment or being in the conversation. And how you do that, yes, it's not always going to be an iconic moment. We still have a lot of brands that want those moments and need those moments, and they're good for business as well. But to your point, brands are looking for those discrete moments, those small moments, which are not sort of high production value, high lead times, et cetera, et cetera. So you need to be able to mix it up. You've got to be able to mix it up. It's really important. And I think that's just going to be part of the new normal, because brands are being built and discovered in different ways. And the Ocean Spray example, I mean, you read the comments, you read sort of the points of view. People don't know if it was staged or if it was authentic, and it doesn't really matter. I think it was a moment that was part of conversation, and I think there was authenticity in the moment. And so I think it was good. And I think where brands can just, you know, people want a bit of distraction and they want entertainment. I think the human condition likes entertainment. And that was an entertaining moment. So I think those things are good. I think when you try and engineer them, that's when you've got to be careful, because I don't believe in that personally. And for all those brands that have done it and will say, yeah, but it can work, absolutely great. I think those moments are stronger when they're natural and organic, and you're being true to your brand and your purpose of your product. And if it takes flight, great. And if it doesn't, you should still have a great piece of work and be proud of what you've done. So engineering is probably a bit too much.
I think so too. It's a bit of a stretch. You know, you've said that we live in a precision world. Can you talk a little bit about the marriage of data and creativity?
Yeah, we do. I mean, you think about what you've done today. You probably watched some video. You may have been recommended something. You know, you may have done your online shopping, and you know, this is the precision world that we all live in. So I think, you know, from my vantage point and coming into DDB, what's really exciting is the marrying of precision and creativity. You know, I came up in the precision world, if you will, and it was more of an awe. You know, like, what are we doing? The big brand thing, or are we now doing the one-to-one thing? Right. I think the way we live our lives in technology and data flows, it's now an and. And I think what the holy grail for us at DDB is, how do you create those great emotional moments, but do them at big scale, and then in the smallest, most intimate settings? How do you do that? How do you go across the scale? And so for us, it's an and. It's got to be an and I think that's what everyone's trying to figure out and work out. And while we love technology and we love automation and we love platforms, we also love when we're stirred by something. When something triggers an emotion, it triggers a reaction, we're entertained. And so we're trying to crack that code. You know, you need the precision because that's how we live, but you need that creativity. You need that emotional trigger. And, you know, the agency that really cracks that code is going to have a fantastic future. And we're hoping DDB is going to be there.
I'm sure you will be. How, in order to make that emotional connection, and you've talked about, as I mentioned, co-creating and really sort of listening and spending a lot of time with your clients. How important is it to not just engineer and create external messaging, but how important is it that there is a sort of universal understanding of an internal North Star, so to speak,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
that everybody is on the same page, and how difficult is it to make sure that everybody's on the same page?
I think having the North Star is critically important. It just sets the tone, it sets the direction, even down to investment decisions. It can simplify conversations, it can filter. So hugely important. And especially in these times where I think brands have to really reconsider not just their purpose, but their role, their product service offering, what value it adds to consumers. I think you need a North Star to make sure that everyone's on that page. How difficult is that? I mean, it's very difficult. And in some categories that have, which have evolved over time, you think of insurance or banking, where products and portfolios have sort of evolved over time. And you have 4 or 5 different views of the same person, same consumer or the same customer. And you're trying to give them that North Star experience where everything's connected. It can be very difficult. It can come down to, detached or separate siloed systems, operations, budget holders. It can just be a lot of things that can get in the way of you achieving and delivering that North Star in a connected manner. So it can be very difficult, and the categories that you work in can be, can have that historic those historic barriers, if you will, that really make that even more difficult. But regardless of that, I think the progressive brands, and I've worked with brands in insurance and banking and some of these segments, they're looking at proof of concepts, they're looking at breaking down organizational structures, they're looking at how they can take maybe one brand or one product and accelerate and show what the North Star could be, and then scale it up. So they're taking common sense and practical approaches to that. But I think it's critical that businesses do sort of realign themselves around that North Star. It's just good for business and good for operations.
But not without its challenges.
It has challenges, has a lot of challenges.
As I am new to Ad Age and engaging in conversations, lots of conversations with industry executives like yourself, something that keeps sort of bubbling up to the surface in the conversations that I'm having is the idea of this sort of tug of war between creativity and bottom line. Has creativity taken a backseat to accounting and the holding company bottom line?
I mean, I personally would say no. I mean, if I felt otherwise, I wouldn't be at DDB. So I would say no. I think though that there is a balance. There's definitely more of a balance. I think, technology and automation and, the investment that we've seen within our industry has meant that you've got to be business minded, right? Clients are also looking for great ROI. They're looking to understand their spend. So you've really got to bring that into the heart and soul of your agency to be able to talk about accountability. I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think you can get away from it.
I'm so sorry.
No problem.
It's
no problem.
Listen, it's my birthday, and the calls are going to be coming in.
No problem.
So
no problem.
I apologize.
No worries. I got that was why I froze. Someone was calling me. But no, I think that the whole sort of investment has been necessary because agencies have had to understand, what does technology mean? What does it bring? How does it evolve our industry? I don't think the holding companies could have got away from being part of, that journey and going on that journey. If you Google marketing automation 2010 to 2020, you'll see an infographic, and it has 150 players in 2010 and 7,000 or 8,000 at the moment. So you've got to understand what's happening in that space. And I think agencies have had to evolve with that. But I think, the question for me is always, but what do you put in those pipes? What do you put in that platform? What do you put in that delivery mechanism? And I believe you put creativity, you put that spark, you put the idea, you put the experience. And I think that, yes, there's been a focus on technology because it's been so concentrated. The last 5-10 years, it's just mushroomed into, an industry that you can't deny the value that it brings in terms of precision. But I think now it's almost a return back to being human. It's like Back to the Future. Now people want to reconnect with their audiences, and they want to say, okay, so how are we going to leverage that? How are we going to make that work for our business. And that's when human comes back. That's when ideas come back. That's when creativity comes back. So I think there will be much more of a balance as we go forward. But we've just come out of 4 or 5 years of intense investment and innovation in the sector. So we've had to sort of marry the two.
I want to just change gears briefly. I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't switch gears just for a moment. And I'm sure we'll all agree that we can and should work to do better with regard to diversity and inclusion. Not just within our own organizations, but with respect to external messaging and branding as well. Do you feel that the weight of that as a Black executive, and if I'm not mistaken, the first Black CEO of DDB?
Do I feel the weight of it? No, I don't, because I feel that I've got to be true to who I am as an individual, and I've got to be true to the role and the opportunity first and foremost. So I've got to be competent in the job, and if I feel I'm competent in the job, I think everything else follows. If I come into this role with that on my shoulders, I'm looking at my responsibilities through a filter. So I don't do that. But do I feel it in a positive way? Absolutely. Do I embrace it in a positive way? Absolutely. And do I feel that there's more to come? Absolutely. And I hope that, I get forgotten and there's a whole shift in the industry and no one talks about it. But yes, I mean, I'm aware of it. I'm 27 years in the industry. I can tell you for the first 15 years how many Black people are in meetings with me, right? Those are things that I mentally kept, not a score of, but just they were things that I was just cognizant of. So I can see the industry is changing. It needs to change more. But I don't think taking those things as a weight is something, it's not in my nature. I embrace it positively. I love change. I want more change. I want more diversity, more opinions, different energies in the room. It's all positive for me. It's all good. It's something to build towards rather than something that weighs on my shoulders that I have to sort of navigate with. And it doesn't mean that I'm, innocent and I haven't had, microaggressions and different experiences that I would have rather not had. But you got to get on with it. You know what I mean? I think you just got to move forward. And I'm more interested in helping people that are coming up behind me, to be honest, to be better than me, more resilient, because I think that's when the industry as a whole, and I think that's where we should aim our North Star. It's like, where is the industry as a whole going to get to, and what's it going to look like, and what's it going to sound like? And that's exciting, and I want to be part of building that. So that's why I embrace it positively, because I think we can do great things, and I'm obviously happy to play my part in this position.
That's great. And then lastly, unless we have more time, what are the challenges of out of home right now as people are cautiously, trying to re-engage with their lives? What do you see? What's the role of out of home right now, October 2020?
Well, the first thing I'll say is that senior clients are looking at their marketing investment. They're looking at their media strategies. They're looking at, different roles at different parts, or different channels rather, will play in that strategy. I think obviously the bigger context is the pandemic and social distancing and people being in lockdown and,
I think we got a little bit of a freeze there.
Am I back? I think I'm back. Okay. Yeah, situations that are, sorry about that are broader than just the industry. I think what's important is that we think about how we can use out of home in different ways for brands. Some brands are talking about, service and utility and how they want to be looking at targeting with out of home in a new way, having different accountability. They want to be looking at different experiences using out of home. So there's opportunity for more creativity as we get back to a new normal. We just have to plan those things and think creatively about it.
That's great. Hi, folks. I'm going to pop back in. Dan and Justin, that was terrific. Thank you so much. And a great natural and good tension between data and creativity. And that's so important. And we have a few questions. I may just get to one or two from the audience. One is, Justin, you've spent a lot of time in different markets all over the world. You're now running a global business. But previously you spent time in EMEA and at Wonderman and at RAP. In fact, we had at our pre-speaker VIP dinner. We had David Sable there, and
Ah,
he was excited to hear that you'll be speaking. He spoke at the summit years ago. David, who as you well know, ran
yeah,
global
it's great.
Y&R.
Great,
It
yeah,
was
absolutely.
kind of a great thing. We had him and Frank Luntz. It was a vibrant discussion, and Dan came in, and Dan's
Fantastic.
cat was there. By the way, Dan, you got
Oh,
my you got my phone call, Dan, which you just picked up. That was me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But so, Justin, given your global briefs and experience, do you see a difference culturally? Of course, there is culturally, politically, but how does that affect brand strategy on kind of a macro level and brand direction, and even down to tactics in your view?
wow, massive question. I
Just
mean,
take an
I
hour.
think, yeah, I think I would say, some brands are looking and reinvesting in their global footprint, and they're looking at sort of how they show up globally. I think we're seeing a lot of that, an investment in brand strategy that does span the globe. But I think they're also, and even more so nowadays, understanding that relationships are built locally, and you really have to understand local nuance. So they're looking at global brand strategy. They're looking at automation, for example, to help them with global brand toolkits and playbooks. But they're looking at how those things are executed locally. They're looking for local nuance. They're looking for local contextual relevance is probably the best word, relevance. And we're seeing much more of brands wanting to be nimble at how they do that. I think in the old days, it would be sort of big global rollouts and, you'd never breathe, or move away from the brand, the brand blueprint. I think now there is, with technology, with digital, there's an ability to sort of go local, but still, be true to the global aspirations of brands. And brands are really trying to figure that out. And they're using technology and precision to do that. They're using content to do that. And they're getting closer to their consumers and how they are relevant locally. And they're doing that in different channels, social media, social listening, not just sort of research, qualitative research. So different means and different ways. And I'm seeing an acceleration of that and much more of an ambition of brands wanting to be global, but show up quite locally. It's much more possible now.
Great for you to hear that. So the old adage of think global but act local is even further empowered by the digitization of media.
Yeah.
And along that leads nicely into my second question, which was posed by Brent Baer, who runs Out of Home Today. And his question is, have you noticed as a creative leader and an advertising leader, I'm sure you're familiar with the traditional forms of out of home. Have you noticed some of the more digitized screens, Piccadilly Circus,
Yep.
screens in gyms and bars and taxis, elevators, Times Square, the streets
Absolutely.
of Tokyo? And does that provide a good canvas and palette for more creativity now that out of home is fast becoming digital?
Absolutely. I mean, I read a figure. I think we got 480,000 screens, if you will, in North America. 220,000 of them are digitized. Absolutely, there's an opportunity to be much more targeted, to be much more accountable in terms of results, even to buy those placements differently. So there's a different business model that can pop up. Flexibility of creativity. You can run and test. You can use these screens. Thinking about the types of experiences as well. Use the screens differently so you can get into utility and service rather than just brand communication and messaging. So there's much more you could do with the digitization of screens. It's really exciting. And I think that's part of the new normal where creativity has to step in and work with the media owners and these platform owners and say, what can we do? What's possible? Let's try proof of concepts. Let's try different executions. Let's get, geo-located and regional about these things. How we message and how we activate the brand to show up really locally. But never forgetting the context. Obviously, again, we've got the social distancing. So you have to think about how you phase these things through as the new normal becomes our everyday again, we hope.
That's really great. You make some great points. And especially we found during COVID that programmatic digital out of home really enables agility and flexibility to go to where the audience is, to move, push or pull schedules.
Exactly.
You could change creative by the news of the local
Exactly.
reality in some ways.
Exactly.
So that's great to see. So I think, unfortunately, I think we can do this forever. Dan, do you want to mention your book at all? Do you have any interest in that?
No, I mean, we've already mentioned my birthday and my cat. We're good.
Okay. Well, then I'm just going to go back and going to do some reading here for a little while. Okay, let's see.
That is a good partner. That's a good partner.
Excellent. So listen, guys, thank you so much for this. This could have gone forever. Dan Perez, the new editor-in-chief of Advertising Age, and Justin, the new CEO of DDB. And what a great panel. I look forward to seeing you guys all post-COVID in the same place.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Barry. Dan, great to see you again.
Likewise, Justin. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.